Hello and welcome to the Gold Newsletter channel. My name is Kai Hoffman. I'm the @JR Mining guy over on X, and together with our very good friend Brian London, I'm the host of the Gold Newsletter channel, and I'm looking forward to this company introduction that we have lined up for you today. It is Rackla Metals. I'm joined by the CEO Simon Ridgway, and we'll discuss the company up in the Yukon and Northwest Territories. They're in the Tombstone Gold Belt, and you might have heard of the Tombstone Gold Belt before. That's where Snowline is located, and we will have to find out what Rackla is up to, but I've looked at some of the rocks they're showcasing in their presentation, and it looks interesting, to say the least, and looks very similar to what Snowline is having. So we'll catch up with Simon about what they got, what they're working on, and what they're planning to do at their projects. Before I switch over to my guest, quick reminder, hit that like and subscribe button. Helps us out tremendously, reaching a wider investor base. Thank you so much for doing that. Now, Simon, it is great to welcome you on the Gold Newsletter. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for the invite, Kai.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to check out Rackla Metals. We need to talk Rackla Metals. But before we get into some of the specifics, Simon, give us a 60-second overview of Rackla Metals. Who and what are you?
Rackla Metals is a gold exploration company focusing specifically on the Tombstone Gold Belt. Following up on Snowline's 2022 discovery, I looked at the map and saw that it didn't create a gold rush, which it should have. So I jumped in there to the east of Snowline in the belt and staked all of these granitic intrusive bodies that potentially can host these specific rigs deposits. They're large, usually. They're close to surface, usually, and simple metallurgy. So they're very attractive deposits. It's very expensive exploration up in the Yukon territory, but the prize is very significant, as we can see from Snowline's discovery.
Yeah, absolutely. What is it? 7.63 million ounces or so right now already, and they're only in year 4 of their exploration activities up at Snowline. That's quite impressive.
Yeah.
That is quite impressive and sort of highlights the potential of the Tombstone Gold Belt. Sitka has been showing some promise here as well, that they're also in the same belt. So it's really interesting to see. Simon, usually my second question to sort of follow up the introduction is really about cap structure, just so we're all on the same level. Run us a bit how many shares are out, warrants and exercise price, and of course, cash position here.
Okay, so there's 107 million shares out in Rackla. Warrants, there's 43 million warrants outstanding also. They're quite a ways out of the money. The warrants, some are 25 cents and the majority are 35 cents. The stock's trading presently at 12 cents. And we got about 3.2 million cash in the treasury, 1.2 hard and 2 million flow through. The budget for this year's program is probably around 4 million. So at some point, either when the season's going and I've generated some results from the first sampling on the Grad property, or before then, I'll be raising another 1 to 2 million flow through for this year's program.
No, fantastic. We'll get to the exploration expenditure and the plans for 25 in a second, because I want to break down the ownership of Rackla as well. Because one thing that stands out is that insiders own 43%, and Simon, you're a big owner of the shares. I just looked up SETI before this conversation as well. You own about almost 11 million shares. How'd you acquire those shares, and how'd the insiders acquire the positions?
Well, I bought a lot in the market just in January alone. I mean, there was So insiders, some of them just came in. I mean, in December, I had a large purchaser, a Peruvian mining guy that I've known for a little while. He bought 19.9% of the company. He came in, he bought a placement of 10 million shares at 12 cents, which put him in that 19% bracket. And the reason he wanted to go there is because he sees similarities to the project we have and Snowline's discovery. And the reason I've been buying all through December and January is for the same reason. I really like the target we have. I've been saying since we jumped into this belt that you just got to walk up the right creek and find the right outcrop, and you'll know you're onto something. Well, I think last year we did that. Hence buying myself. I also, early on when I first took the project, took Rackla into the Tombstone Belt, I financed it then with shares at 5 cents and warrants at 8, I think, or 10. So that's how I got my position. And the other insiders, one of them is Crescat. I think Crescat owns 14%. As I said, Mr. Alex Gubens owns 19%. And myself, I'm not sure what my percentage is, but other friends have large positions also.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You sound like you're above 9.9% then. You should be a reporting insider anyway since you're CEO, but you're above the 9.9% mark,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
roughly
am.
speaking, you know? So, no, fantastic, Simon. It sounds really interesting that you've all acquired this, and I do approve of that personally. So it makes a lot of sense to me. Let's maybe start with the history of the projects that you've acquired or that you have. And I picked up in your introduction that it was mostly through staking. Is that correct, Simon?
That's correct. Mostly through staking. So when I saw Snowline's results in 2022, I took a look at the map and saw that for somehow even they were putting out fantastic results. It didn't create a gold rush at all. Nobody moved into the area. Their share price certainly responded very strongly. But I did a bunch of research and I took a look at all the granitic intrusives in the belt to the east of Snowline, and it was pretty clear to me that really they hadn't been explored for gold. There were some very large base metal deposits discovered in the sedimentary rocks around those intrusive bodies that kind of host the gold deposits. But nobody had really done a lot of sampling for gold within the intrusives, not just to the east of Snowline, but also further east and further south in the belt itself. As the Tombstone Gold Belt crosses all the way across the Yukon, sort of running east-west, and as it hits the border with the Northwest Territories, it drops north-south a little bit, and then it comes back into the Yukon further south. But that belt of about 150 kilometers, I think, kind of guessing there, but so for quite a stretch, the belt is in the NWT, and nobody had explored that ground, those intrusives for gold. I mean, there was really just no sampling from all I think I read like 350 assessment reports of all the work that had been done by Kantang and Mactang and, that looked at tungsten, that looked for tin, that looked for lead, that looked for zinc, but they just hadn't done any work for gold.
Where do you think that is? Like, of course, the Klondike Gold Rush, and I'm speculating here, Simon. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like the Klondike Gold Rush sort of took away all the intention for gold exploration, and nobody really looked in the eastern part of the Yukon or in the western part of the NWT. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, they looked in the Eastern Yukon for base metals. I don't know why it wasn't done. It was called the Tombstone Gold Belt all the way across, but that's only something that's developed in the last 20 years. The eastern part of the belt was known for those large base metal deposits. I mean, that's what had been found there, right? Where when they put the North Canal Road through the Yukon up to the Northwest Territories to Norman Wells, there were some big evident gossans in the sedimentary rocks that turned out to be very large lead zinc deposits. So that's what they focused on, the base metals that were evident. And the intrusives in that part of the Tombstone Belt were not known to host gold until Snowline made that discovery in 2022 that showed that these Riggs deposits can also exist in the eastern Yukon. Hence, we jumped in there.
Yeah, no, makes a lot of sense. You brought up the Canal Road, and I've written down like a question, like ask Simon about access to the property. We have to talk about it before we get too specific. But since you brought the road up, I want to ask you, like, how do you access the project? Can you use the Canal Road? Because I know you're not too far away from Fireweed, for example. Do you have access there?
Yeah, we can drive to. We have two camps now. Well, we will this year. So let me first be specific. Initially, when we staked ground to the east of Snowline, we focused on the intrusives that were close to the canal road, so access would not be that major issue for us. And we worked there through 2023 and a good part of 24. And then in sort of July last year, some ground came open for staking. Some ground was opened up by the SARTU land planning and the Northwest Territories government. It had been shut down from staking for land planning for, I really don't know how long, but I think the last 15 or 20 years. It came open in July. We jumped in and staked two claim blocks in that area that had come open, and that's another road. It's another area that's reasonably road accessible. The Grad property, which we'll talk about mostly because that's where most of our financing and efforts are going to be this year, is about 35 kilometers from the North Nahanni Road, where we are renting it. We will be renting a camp from the Selwyn Cheong, which is a Chinese company that owns the Howard's Pass lead zinc deposit. So we'll be able to drive to camp, which is about 35 kilometers from the property, and from there helicopter supported exploration.
Yeah. Okay, no, I appreciate that. You're reading my question about the axes here, but Simon, I think we need to take a step back because I got ahead of myself here. Let's talk about the business plan for Rackla first, and of course what you're going to focus on this year, because you have a number of projects in the area, and you already mentioned that you're going to focus on the Grad project this year. But run us a bit through the business plan. Like, are you more of a prospect generator or just what do you call it? Like a normal explorer here, Simon?
No,
Not even sure if there's a.
yeah,
So yeah, maybe
a
run us
normal
through that a bit.
explorer, and yeah, we're a normal explorer. I mean, with this specifically with this company and these properties, it's very expensive exploration. We're looking for that one discovery, such as Snowline size. I believe since I began doing the research and working in this belt in this part of the Yukon territory that you know to find these deposits tend to form in clusters. From what we've seen in the Western Yukon, there's about 20 million ounces being found in these intrusive bodies in the Western Yukon, to the east of Dawson City in let's say, the last 15 years. So Snowline's discovery shows that these deposits also can exist in these intrusive bodies in the belt in the eastern Yukon and in the Northwest Territories. So we staked quite a number of them, looking for that one that could become the next Snowline. Um, we did some work in 23 and 24, and I think although we didn't kill those targets, we certainly put a dent in them. I mean, we had some great geochemistry, some good geophysics indicating the potential was there. We did some drilling in 23 and cut some broad intercepts of low grade mineralization. In 24, we went back to those targets to try to expand them and get to the heart of the system, but actually we kind of killed them. And then we staked this Grad property. And when I flew in with the stakers and walked on this intrusive body, I got very excited. There was lots of veining. It looked like we were in the carapace which is where these deposits form at the very top of these intrusives, where the intrusive as it cools fractures and the gold and bismuth and telluride comes into those fractures, and that's what creates these type of systems. And I felt like I was walking on one. And then we went to work. So they've started work on this property in August, and the results have been quite spectacular. The alteration strength, the numbers we're getting in the rock results we've taken indicates that we've got a real target here that needs focus. So the business plan is to make a significant discovery, and then do what I've done previously is sell that discovery so all the shareholders get the cash in at the same time. Sounds simple, never is, but that's the goal.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you clarifying that, Simon. And I want to get a bit more granular on your sort of staking process. Like, how'd you discover? And I'm using that word very loosely here, Grad. And what prompted you to stake that? Like, what was the initial? Like, how did the targeting work on there? Did you use government data, or like how did that process work for you, Simon?
Yeah, government data for the most part. I mean, basically looking back at the regional geochemistry that had been done by the government in previous years. Like I said, the Grad property that we staked had been it had been in a land planning permit. I mean, restricted from staking for many years. So the government and the SAR2 land planning committees basically took a look at the area where the Grad property is and decided which area should go into park, which area should go into, SAR2 ownership, and which should be opened up for industry. They opened up the area where the Grad is for industry, and we took a look at the government geochemistry that had been done many years previously and saw some nice, gold anomalies and bismuth anomalies draining from the intrusive, which is now the Grad property. So we flew in and staked it. And when I flew in with the stakers and walked on the intrusive, I got quite excited. So we increased the size of that land package to take in some other small intrusive bodies in the area. And then we went to work on the property right away. We had a bit of an incident at the beginning of the program on the Grad. We had a helicopter crash, and which we were very lucky. It was a pilot and geo area, bit of a combination of the two. And the helicopter rolled down the hill for about 100 meters with three people in, and everybody climbed out. Nobody got hurt. I flew them all later on to, to check for concussions and back problems, whatever. Everybody was fine. But they spent about 6 hours sitting in the valley, sort of waiting to get rescued. And while they did that, they found some float in the area, which led us to this what we now call the bite discovery. So, would we have found this outcropping intrusive if it wasn't for the helicopter crash? I think so, but makes the story more interesting.
Yeah, I don't think that's a common way to explore a project. So you got to be careful using that method there, Simon. You
Yeah,
know.
I know. I think so. We probably won't be doing that again to make the discovery. But anyway, so we went back in about 2 weeks later. Whenever we'd gone through the whole training programs again, and no more towing in for that season. Sometimes you have to do that when you're staking, but you should only do it when it's absolutely necessary. Um, Anyway, so we went back to work and did a talus sampling, and that do the stuff that we normally do: stream sediment sampling all around the intrusive body, talus sampling at the intrusive sedimentary contact, and we got some fantastic results from that work. So now it's sort of mid-August last year, 2024. So we decided that that whole focus issue was going to be this grad property. So we flew photogeometry over it. We did airborne geophysics. We put in total about only 10 to 12 man days on the property in total because the season's coming to an end. But all the results we've got and the results we've compiled since then show that we're onto a significant target here. It's certainly, I would call it a discovery already because no, it's never been staked before. We're getting great gold numbers from the rocks we've taken, ounces of gold in grab samples in a number of areas, high bismuth, high telluride. So it's got exactly the right signature of a rig system. It is extensive. The alteration that we see from the photogrammetry we do shows intense fracturing and intense veining in the intrusive. It's quite a cliff. I mean, it's going to take a significant program to explore it. We will need to get mountaineer geos hanging off ropes on the cliff and sampling the face of the cliff, putting pads along the top of the ridge so we can drill. We can if the listeners take a look at the website, there'll be a video on there that takes you around the mountain so you can understand the target. Understand why we're going to go to such expense to test this target because it is quite significant.
Which brings me a bit to 2025, Simon. Is really like, is the project drill ready, and what do you need to do to get to that drill ready stage, perhaps?
Yes and no. I mean, parts of it are certainly drill ready in the valley bottom where we got the samples from, on the cliff face. We can certainly start drilling there right away. We need to sample the faces of the cliff. I mean, like I said, we need to get, mountaineer geos, which are available to us, hanging off ropes, sampling the cliff face to make sure this is about a 450-meter high cliff. The at the very base where we're getting the talus samplings and the multi-gram material in these fractures, that same fracture system runs all the way up the cliff. We see it at the top of the cliff. We didn't land there and sample because I'd put a bit of a hold on that sort of towing in for the season after the accident. But it looks the same. So we need to confirm that there's gold in the same fractures and the alteration that we're seeing up there is the same as the base. So for the top of the hill, we'll need to get people on geos sampling it and then build drill pads along that ridge. For the base of the hill, we can drill right away. We also flying in a very large backhoe to sample through the talus because on the other side of the valley, we're still getting gold numbers in the intrusive at the contact with the sediments over there, so we can trench that. It's going to be a very busy season, and it'll be 100% focused on the grad property.
Yeah. What does the permit situation look like for the Grad property? I fully
It looks good.
understand.
I
Just
mean, we're applying for the permit now. We've been told there should not be an issue, um, but we've got to get the work done. So we're going to
yeah.
file it. I think the plan is to file it on the 6th of February. It's quite a lot of paperwork to get it done. We are being told there's no issue. I mean, don't forget this land was just opened up for industry. So they opened the land up for staking because they want us, the Northwest Territories government and the SATU want to see mines developed on the property that they opened up. That's why they opened it up.
Okay. Do you
So
already have a First Nations agreement in place with the Satu, or
we
what
did
does
we
that
did
look like?
he did on the other properties to the north. Yes, we did, and we're extending that into this new area. It's the same First Nations group that we've
Perfect.
dealt with over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
We
No,
have a good
perfect.
relationship.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. Maybe Simon, just to summarize, like I know the season usually starts in June, but I have to ask you, like, what does the news flow look like until then? Can we expect some more, like maybe targeting results or so come out from the Grad project? Like, what does news flow look like in the coming months here?
Very little. We'll put out our planning, what we're going to do. We're putting out this, the video that we'll be putting up on the website, so people can understand the target. We'll explain the systems, but I think as news flow goes, it will not be a lot until we get into obviously getting the drill permit may be the next news release we'll read about. We can get in there and start work. The fact that we got to deal with the camp with the Selby Chiang, he's very good. So that with the camp's ready to go, we just got to get in there and fix it up. So we'll be getting into camp in May. We'll probably start work on the property by mid-June. I think any earlier than that would be a bit optimistic given the weather where we are. And drilling should start mid-July.
No, fantastic. Sounds great, Simon. Really interesting, like very prospective. Earlier days, but perspective.
It's early days, but significant results to date. And, these systems are, as I've said from we first started going in these intrusives, the only thing I can guarantee you that no one has ever walked up this creek before, because it's never been staked, and anyone walked up that creek and saw the alteration and the veining in this intrusive body would have staked it. So with the first persons in there, it's not as remote as it sounds. It's only 35 kilometers from a road. It is rugged, so we're gonna safety first, but a very expensive but very prospective target to develop, explore this coming summer.
A new frontier. No, I love it. It's like you got to go where nowhere else has gone before. Isn't that a Star Trek quote or so?
Right. That's what I've always tried to do. Yeah,
exactly. Like Starship Enterprise. I need to look up the slogan or go, the next frontier. There you go. I think that's something like that. So probably get a lot of hate in the comments for my misquoting of Star Trek quotes here. So I'll take it. I got to work on that. I do appreciate it. Simon, really appreciate it. Like you coming on the Gold Newsletter channel, telling us about Rackla. Sounds really, really interesting. I'm looking forward to some more details coming out over the coming months, and of course, start of the season here in May, June.
We'll take a look at the website and take a look at the videos we're going to be posting. I think that'll give them a good understanding of the target and why we're all excited and why I've been buying the stock myself.
Absolutely. No, we'll put all of that down below in the description so people can easily follow and find it. So, Simon, thank you so much for joining us here on the Gold Newsletter channel, and everybody else. We really appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't done so, hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us reach a wider investor base. And let us know your thoughts about Rackla Metals down below. What do you think of the Grad project? What do you think about working in the NWT? We do want to hear from you, and any type of feedback is much appreciated. So put it down below, and we thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back with lots more here on the Gold Newsletter channel. Thank you.